Sure. Thanks a lot. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press, thanks a lot for this briefing. I wanted to ask about the ability of people that that fled the country to be able to return to the country and vote, or to vote while they're still outside. But what steps are being taken so that when the vote is held, that the voting strength, I would assume of Muslims, but of others, isn't watered down by being chased out of the country? And I want to repeat or follow up on the question. There are these allegations there've been these allegations of sexual abuse, first by the Sangaris French troops, now by the MINUSCA forces themselves, that have given rise to a lot of questions here in headquarters. And I wonder, I'm not sure who the predominant victims of these are, but what does OIC think do you think that the UN has done enough? Ban Ki-moon fired Babacar Gaye. Do you support that? Do you think more should be done? What do you think?
Wow. Thank you, sir. Regarding the helping the refugees and internally displaced to be part of the electoral process, I know that the political will is there. I know the government is doing something. There was a time parts of the institutions say that this is like a mission impossible. Let's not even try to do it. Let's organize elections and then we'll see after the elections. And everybody warned them that this is a recipe for disaster. If the Muslim community that is like the overwhelming majority in the refugee camps and displaced, internally displaced areas is not involved, the Muslim community in the election, that's not good. So let's make every effort we can make to help them be part of the, and I believe that measures have been taken in Chad, in Cameroon. The government seems to be, there was once even a discussion, do you organize the election within the refugee camps where government officials dare not go to go and see the refugees? So decision was to make sure that they are registered first, and then voting booth and centers will be implemented in safe areas where they can come and vote and go back. So I think a reflection has been organized, and the goodwill of the government is not in doubt at all. Would they be totally successful or partially successful? That's the question. But I know that refugees and internally displaced are in the mind of the government, and they are trying to find solutions. Now, it has been reported to us, like to everybody else, in the international community, that sometimes the Muslims in CAR have had the impression that international forces, whether they are French or UN, seem to be more preoccupied by, containing them or fighting them than fighting the anti-Balaka or fighting other groups. From what I have seen, I think politically, when it comes to political will, I think the French and the UN forces want to really help achieve peace and stability in CAR. Are they biased against the Muslim Seleka? They have a problem with the Seleka, of course, but are they biased toward the Muslim community? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Now, sometimes, when actions on the ground are interpreted and, have like some different type of interpretation, then maybe it is high time to engage a dialogue within the UN, visit the French mission, and to see why the perception from the Muslim community is sometimes, not the right perception of their action and their help, that they do not take side, because their mission is not to take side. Their mission is to help bring back peace and stability in CAR. So I know we all know about those issues. I think also because of, violations of human rights, abuse, sexual abuse of children and so on, some bad things that happened there. What is more remarkable, of course, what is more remarkable is that the children have been victimized. Number two, it seems that the reaction was a bit perceived as being slow. But we all like the fact that the UN has reacted vigorously and has taken measures. And frankly, I don't think Mr. Babacar Gaye, that I know personally and who is a friend and who is somebody, like international civil servant who has done a great job for the UN system for years, I don't think he was an accomplice or he was informed and he didn't do anything. It's just that he was also courageous enough to say, I'm the boss. things happened under my watch. You know, I may not have been informed properly, but if this is going to help the situation, let's do it, you know. Therefore, people should also be very indulgent and understanding. And I think this is the first time in the UN system this type of vigorous sanction had happened against a head of a mission. I don't know, I may be wrong, maybe it happened before, but in his particular case, I think both the Secretary General was courageous, but Mr. Gaye also was courageous to accept and to decide, you know, to just accept to be removed without any comment and to take responsibility. Not take the blame, but take responsibility.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Cheikh Gadio. Et je suis la représentante permanente de la République centrafricaine auprès des Nations Unies.
Yes. On your question on Palestine, we are in the process actually of meeting. We already met with the President of the Security Council last Friday and other permanent members. And today we are continuing our meetings. We did not decide what the step that we will take, the next move, but many options is there, and one of them is to call on for emergency meeting of the Security Council, and during that meeting, draft resolution could be submitted. If this draft resolution vetoed or the Security Council failed to take any action, the option of going to the General Assembly is still there. So we did not decide, but the efforts is still ongoing. Thank you.
Good. Yes. This is an attempt. I'm going to ask one. Also, I have other car questions, but since it's I wanted to know what you can say about Yemen in the sense of what OIC is trying to do to minimize the. There's a high level of death there. I mean, I'm not at all trying to. Both are serious, but it's a serious question. What is OIC's position on airstrikes and ground fighting in Yemen?
We did not discuss Yemen, I have to say, but we wanted actually to focus on CAR on this press conference, if I may, you know. Forgive me for that, but we thank you again for being here. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
No? Matthew, you had a question?
Sure. Thanks a lot. Matthew Lee, Inner City Press, on behalf of the Free UN Coalition for Access. Thanks very much for this briefing. There's something I've been meaning to ask both of you, but I'm going to start. I wanted to ask, I didn't know that you were proposing a tribunal for sexual abuse and exploitation. I'd like if you could give some more details, how you think it would work and how it would relate with the troop contributing countries saying that they have exclusive jurisdiction. But what I'd wanted to ask you related to that is in UN peacekeeping, the head of UN peacekeeping, in light of the sexual abuse allegations in the Central African Republic, in a press conference in this room, sitting where you are, said that linked these rapes, alleged rapes, with a lack of distraction, a lack of recreation, and said that DPKO is thinking of having relatively cheap R&R trips that would somehow obviate some of the abuse. And I just wanted to know, as the head of UN Women, and also you, Ms. Kumaraswamy, what do you think of this kind of a linkage? And do you think that if there were more women in peacekeeping, or even a top UN peacekeeping, that maybe this type of linkage wouldn't be publicly made?
I am not aware of that linkage, so I cannot comment about it. I think I followed that press conference. I really don't remember. But let me just comment on the issue of participation of women. 3% of women as participants in the peacekeeper is clearly an unacceptable number. Especially because we know that with a higher representation of women, the work of the peace mission becomes more achievable. It has greater impact. It deters violence against women. It also enables people in the communities that are being supported by the peacekeepers to believe in the peacekeeping, to trust, to report, and to also, in many ways, the peacekeepers that are, if we have more women, become role models for the girls and women in that society. So there's a number of benefits that are to be gained from a higher representation of women in peacekeeping. So the emphasis that we would made is the representation of women as leaders, as ordinary soldiers, as decision makers, and as people that are there in order to make sure that the objectives of the mission are fulfilled, and that in fulfilling that mission, the issues that affect women and girls are taken care of in the best way possible.
Well, let me just say, as you know, I was asked to be, this is an independent voice that I'm saying. This is not the UN system is not suggesting this tribunal. Their views I do not know. But I'm just going to say that the proposal is based on to first discuss with the troop countries and the stakeholders and come up with a tribunal for not only peacekeepers, but also UN staff who have been. And the purpose of this is, the choice is often, are you going to have them prosecuted in the country, in their own countries, which often doesn't happen because countrymen don't like their soldiers being prosecuted. I mean, anywhere in the world, that one. Two, you're going to have them prosecuted in the country where the crime committed, and some of the places where this is happening, there's no rule of law. So you're going to have your peacekeepers in situations that are, that are without any due process. So that is even worse. I mean, if you're a peace contributing country. So this is in some way an option that I think they could welcome, because it's, on the one hand, saves them the whole constant, their own, having to deal with their own population and having to try somebody and trying a soldier anywhere in the world is difficult. And also then having them in another country where their due process standards are so low that it would be something unconscionable. So you have a tribunal that would in some ways meet due process standards and deal with this issue. And the UN has set up tribunals for other issues. So I think it's something that could be. I'm not saying it's going to take off in a big hurry, but it is something that one could work on states, I think, if one advocates long enough, that it is perhaps in their self-interest to have it in the long term. That's what I don't know the comments made by the head of GPKO. I've not heard it. But I must say, in my 20 years of experience with violence against women, it's a comment I have heard constantly by not only UN leaders, but most religious leaders who link sexual exploitation to R&R. And that's done all over the world. And I think it's important that that link be broken.
Speaking of links, the link has now been sent to you.
Can we maybe give the opportunity also to others who want to
Yeah.
ask?